Welcome in, welcome in. This is the Champaign Room Podcast. I'm Illini Isaac. Over to my left, your right, whatever, Ethan Pavey of the Champaign Room. And then down below, Illini legend Deon Thomas is joining us, and we have some awesome questions for him. So, Deon, thank you so much for being on today.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. I mean, as you mentioned, we off air, you and I have history to be on here with Ethan, who have known since you were sophomore in height,
maybe freshman.
Yeah, maybe freshman year. So to see him now at the beginning of his journey in this media world, man, I'm just glad to be a part of it. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and thank you for the legend thing. I appreciate it.
I think that might even be most Illinois fans, all Illinois fans would agree that. So and as we can see, still bleed orange and blue, got the black eye on your chest there. And so my first question, and Ethan and I are just gonna rattle off back and forth. What was it like being a part of the Final Four run, kind of seeing Illinois get back to that national stage, and really it just felt like, Brad's been here so long. He's brought us so far, but it was kind of like that was the relief. We made it back to the Final Four where Illinois belongs. What was that like being a part of that journey and getting to see that?
Well, first, as someone that didn't have an opportunity to advance past the second round, I know how important that was to not just the coaches or the players themselves, but to the department, which I'm a part of right now, but to Illini Nation as a whole. I mean, where we sit in our hearts, we're one of the top athletic programs in the country, in the history of college sports. But we have not always had those accolades to really back it up. 2005 team, amazing. The 89 team has been talked about as one of the best teams ever in college sports. So to have those and have people recognize that, but not to have been back to that stage in such a long time, and then to watch what it meant towards the fans as we turned Indianapolis orange. So it was great to see from that standpoint, but to know as a former player that this is something that's special. You may not recognize it when you're going through it, but when you're sitting in this chair, as I am with you guys at 55 years old, having not done that, you really get gain an appreciation for it. So it was absolutely amazing watching just the smiles on those guys' faces, and then of course, we went down to UConn, but to be able to make it to that point, to see the interaction the players had with all of our fans in the hotel and on the street was absolutely amazing. And hopefully we'll be seeing it again this year.
We know you're still pretty involved with the university and with the team. So can you just explain to us what you do to help with the team, really?
Well, in my role now, I am currently the director of major gifts for Illinois athletics here in Chicago. And I have other regions as well, but I raise money for the athletic program. What a lot of people don't recognize is that Illinois athletics and most athletic departments around the country are self-sustaining, meaning every dollar we spend is dollars that are raised by people like me and our team. So we work really hard to make sure that we're out, as we say, pressing the flesh, shaking hands and kissing babies, really building relationships so we can continue to have our donors support us, support the department, because we and they in turn support the student athletes that represent us every day. So that's my everyday job. I'm always out meeting with Illini, whether they're alumni or just fans, and trying to drum up support for us, especially from a philanthropic standpoint. And as far as basketball, I'm really, I do the radio, so I'm the color analyst for the men's basketball program. And I won't say I do anything specific as far as like coaching or things like that. I just like to be a sounding board for any of the student athletes that say, hey, what do I need to do in this area? What do you think about this? And, and kind of just being that support when needed. I will have to say, and I can say this comfortably, we have a great coaching staff. So I'm normally just, trying to be as lighthearted with the guys as, like I said, and be there if they have any questions and on moving forward. But our coaches take care of, 99.9% of that. And I just get to enjoy them while I'm around them.
That leads me to my next question then, Deon. What has it been like getting to know Brad and in an era where there's been a lot of great coaches I think we've seen that have left the profession or just really haven't been able to adapt. What is it about Brad that has helped him be successful even in this ever-changing era of college athletics?
Well, first of all, let me say it's since day one. It has really been a pleasure getting to know Brad Underwood. I remember in our first conversation I can't remember the game, but before we broadcasted the game that evening, we were talking about his time at Western Illinois, and just really, he was like, Deon, I watched you when I was at Western. So he has really been a fan, not necessarily of mine, but of Illinois athletics for a very, very long time. So he's been tapped in. But one of the best things is you asked what makes Brad special. And you're right. There's been a lot of coaches that's like, okay, you know what? I'm not dealing with this transfer portal. I'm not dealing with NIL or none of those things. But I think Brad has a open-mindedness about himself that allows him to look at situations and then figure out solutions. Part of those solutions, I think, comes from his history. I mean, he was a JUCO coach. I was a JUCO coach. Your team's going to change. You might say every year at the NCAA level, your team may completely change at the semester break on the junior college level. So you really have to maintain flexibility. You have to understand that, change is not a bad thing. It could be a good thing. And then you figure out ways to work around it. And I think his flexibility from a coaching standpoint, from utilizing and learning from and understanding the staff that he has brought in and making adjustments when he has had to, has really helped not just Illinois basketball, but I think his personal growth. And as he grows, the team grows. And look where we are right now. Here we are a decade later. And he's been shining for us, man.
Thank you. You talked about working with the student athletes a little bit, but is there anything that you've seen this offseason that us as fans should look forward to going into the next basketball season?
Well, first of all, it's a very good question. I am not going to get ahead of my skis, which I've never been skiing before, but I do like the expression. I like the fact that we were able to bring back so many pieces from last year's Final Four team. And what that does is it cuts down the learning time. Anytime you're able, and this is me speaking as a former coach, not just about Illinois this year, when you're able to bring back pieces that can help the younger players or new players understand what you're expecting from them, and not just having to teach them every single thing. The older players or returning players can help them learn the system, can help them understand what is expected of them and help them groom and grow faster. You, as a coach, you don't want to only be the only voice in their ears. As an assistant coach, you don't only want to be the voice in their ears. When you have players coaching and helping players, that makes your job go by a lot faster. And in this day and age of, luckily for us, guys being able to get drafted early after 1 year, you're going to need those guys. And you're going to need to lean on the players that are returning. And also, when you're able to recruit and bring in, whether it's the transfer portal or bringing in freshmen, the class that we've brought in this year, you want that, ability to speed up things quickly because this team is so talented. On the offensive end. And I believe there'll be a solid defensive team as well. But they're so offensively talented, whether it's Quentin or whether it's Stefan Vach. You really want to get those guys in and acclimated as quickly as you can. And when you have somebody like Adam Fletcher, man, you want to get him physically ready and then your players and the coaches will help them get game ready.
Yeah, and you've mentioned that you've had a lot of roles with the university, and you're obviously involved in a lot, and this is just something I've always thought. What's it been working like with Brian Barnhart? He's such an iconic voice. There's been so many good calls. The one call that always comes to my mind is when Illinois won to share the Big Ten title against Iowa, and his iconic voice is just so special. He's been obviously a part of Illinois athletics for a long time. So what's it been like working with Brian and being able to be involved in so many big moments?
Well, let me first and foremost say this. When my first broadcast, and I can't remember who we were playing, but we had CBS. They were there, and I'm talking to the guys from CBS, and one of the things they said to me was like, Deon, you're working with one of the best guys in the business, one of the absolute best. So pick up and learn as much as you can from him. And when you have guys that are at that level, giving him the thumbs up or patting him on the back, then you know how good he is. Brian is absolutely amazing to work with. Not just to work with. He's one of the best humans that I know. I mean, he's genuine. He's very soft-spoken. Doesn't sound like it when he's on the air all the time, especially when he gets going. But Brian is a great person, great mentor. During our first conversations, and remember, I was coming over from the Big Ten Network, so I'd been on television and doing those studio things. And one of the first things he told me, it was like, hey, he was like, my job is to tell what's happening. He was like, and your job is to tell why. That may sound simple, but that was a very clear explanation of my role, and it helped me understand, and I believe slide in really quickly into what I wanted to do. You're on television, you don't have to paint a picture because people see it. So you're just have to talk about it, but to be able to break down why something happened, and I think this is why, I stayed on the radio and kind of walked away from the TV portion, is because I like that teaching aspect of it, being able to help the listeners really understand why something happens in the game. Because people are like, Deon, you got the best seat in the house. And I'm like, I never see the game. I actually watch the game the next day. So I can really watch it and appreciate it as a fan, because I'm always looking behind the basketball. If Keaton got a open 3-point shot, why did Keaton get the three? Was it his own individual effort, or was it a screen? Was there something that took place? So that lesson from Brian really helped me, and I believe helped us be able to work together and understand how, this team works, because we are definitely a team. And you as being a part of so many iconic moments, that Iowa game, when everyone, after the shot was made and Trent got the rebound and everyone started rushing the court, it is so strange because I've never been in one of those where people rush the court. So you hear the thunder of the chairs falling over, and I'm grabbing Brian and Ed, our producer, to make sure that they don't get trampled over, pulling them over, into the table instead of right there on the fringe. Well, is amazing, and then the Final Four and all these other things. I mean, it's history, and it's lifetime history for us. I mean, especially being a Illini.
Speaking about iconic moments, you've had plenty of them as a player at Illinois, but what is one iconic moment of your own that always sticks out whenever you think of your time playing in the orange and blue?
That's actually a really good question. I've been fortunate to have, like you said, several moments on the court. I mean, it'll have to be the Andy Kaufman shot. Now, I wasn't the one to make the shot, but we were winning when the ball bounced off my shoulder and went in the basket to, put Iowa up. And I talk about this because I love sports, and anybody that doesn't love sports is crazy, because you can have. I went through every level of emotion during that moment. I mean, I knew the clock was running down. We were about to win. We're fighting and scuffling for this rebound, so I'm happy we're going to beat Iowa. You guys are far too young to remember the whole fiasco with Bruce Pearl. But that was one of the first games back after that. And Lord knows I didn't want to lose to Iowa. Ball bounces off my shoulder, goes into the basket. Now we got complete destruction of my emotional self at that time. I mean, I'm almost in tears as we're walking over to the bench because of everything that had happened before that. We get over to the bench. TJ Wheeler is like, dude, don't worry, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. And now I got this disbelief in my head. And so to have him throw the pass to Andy and Andy make that shot, if you can ever see the video, and they caught an angle, and I've seen this angle where as the ball goes through the basket, I'm literally just standing there because I was in shock. And what felt like, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, what felt like forever at that time was only like a matter of seconds, 1 or 2 seconds before, just complete elation comes over you. So that to me, because of everything that had gone along with it, is probably the biggest moment.
I just wanted to say we're proud to partner with State Farm agent Brian Hansen, dedicated Illini fan. Just as we work to bring you coverage of Illinois athletics, Brian brings the same energy and commitment to serving his clients. If you're looking for a local professional who cares about the community and the orange and blue, visit brianismyguy.com today and see why so many Illini fans trust Brian Hansen and his team for their home, auto, business, and life insurance needs. This segment is also brought to you by Chiefs Naturals. Chief is proudly named after the University of Illinois mascot, and to keep him fueled, Chiefs Naturals created premium all-natural treats with 0 mystery ingredients, perfect for your dog. They are officially launching this September. Head over to chiefsnaturals.com right now and join the VIP list. You'll get exclusive email updates about the launch. You don't want to miss the first Chiefs Naturals drop. Again, that is chiefsnaturals.com. Simple ingredients, epic tail wags.
Deon, do you have, again, along with iconic moments, you've got to watch and be, front row to a bunch of amazing, talented players. Do you have any players since you've been calling the radio that maybe you've gotten closer to, or you've connected with off the court, or you just really stick out in your mind? Like, man, that dude was awesome to be front row for.
I'll say this from getting to know someone from a personal standpoint. Ty Rodgers is one of the absolute best Illini we have ever had. He bled the orange and blue. As we know, the injuries and things like that have kind of sidelined him, but he's one guy that came in and did everything the right way. And it just didn't pan out for him, unfortunately. But he has his degree, and he will forever be an Illini. And I'm going to throw a name back at you. And I hate to say this because it seems like it's been such a long time, but he is still a young man. Kipper Nichols. Loved Kipper Nichols. Just a young man that I spent a lot of time with, and any advice that he would always come and ask for advice. Same thing with Ty. So you go closer to those that really do that and engage. And it wasn't necessarily always about basketball. It was really a lot of life things that they would come and want to talk about. But from a player standpoint, I mean, Ayo Dosunmu is Ayo Dosunmu. I mean, there are very few words because, as an alumni, as a former player, a lot of our return to glory is because of Ayo Dosunmu. And that's just, as it is. Love being around Kofi, just his personality and his love of life. And Georgie Bajanishvili, the same. I know a lot of people go back and forth about, the best player, this and that. Terrence Shannon is probably the best of the bunch that I've seen so far. I know Keaton went 5, but Terrence Shannon Jr., man, to watch him play and progress, because I watched him at Texas Tech, watched him some in high school, but what he did his senior year at Illinois was just unheard of. So there's a lot of different players. Truly enjoyed them all. I can't say there's one player that has been there during my, oh my gosh, this is going on 11 years on the radio now. Going into my 11th year that I did not enjoy being around. I got to mention Monte too. I love being around DeMonte. Just to watch him and his love for the team after knowing his dad. There's so many things that are very similar to him and Frankie, but so many things that are so different. And then to watch him and his leadership and how he led that team, very similar to Kyle and Boswell. Just truly enjoyed it. I mean, I've been fortunate to be around these young men for a decade and almost a decade plus going into this year. And I have not had one kid that I'm like, oh, maybe that was a bad recruit. But as Brad says, he recruits kids with character, not characters.
Nice. And you just talked about how all these student athletes love the university. But what do you love about the university, and what does the University of Illinois and the Illinois basketball team mean to you?
Well, when I came out of high school, I was the number 3 player in the nation. So I could have gone almost anywhere I wanted to go. But having state loyalty, having in-state pride is one of the things that led me to Illinois. Now, of course, my grandmother, who was very important to me, wasn't going to come see me if I was at Arizona or UCLA. So, she laid that out there early. So that shot those other two right in the foot. But you asked me what makes Illinois special. I grew up in, I'm from Chicago. I grew up in an area that was riddled with, gang violence, drugs, the whole nine. And to be able to go to Illinois, play at Illinois, earn my degree from Illinois, and during that time be able to bring family members down to campus. And I am a first-generation graduate. Since me, we've had 8 or 9, maybe 10 of my relatives, including my younger brother, earned degrees from various universities. So what makes Illinois special to me is not just my basketball career. It gave me an opportunity to change the direction of my family. I was the first, and as I mentioned, I think 10, if I'm not mistaken, maybe more graduates since then, including immediate family, my younger brother, my girls, his daughter, various cousins, and now their kids have gone on. And that doesn't happen if, I'm not at Illinois or I'm not playing basketball. So all of that coupled together is why, this thing is still on my chest and I'm not going anywhere.
Deon, you've seen it, the ins and outs of college athletics from a player, and then now working in the DIA. And what has Josh Whitman meant to the University of Illinois? And again, similar to the Brad question earlier, like, why has Josh been so successful and stayed for such a long time when a lot of other ADs have moved on or not really panned out? Like, what has worked so well for Josh Whitman?
I'll give you, if you watched his press conference when he took the job, and he went up there in front of the camera and he was like, "This is not a job, it's personal." And I think that, like myself, is what fuels us. And I think that is what has been the fuel for Josh. He wore the uniform. He sat in the classrooms. And I can't tell you if he went to CAMs or not like I did, but you have all of the campus experiences that that have built up in you over the years. So it's your love for the university, it's your experiences, it's the love for your teammates and the people that you knew on campus. So those are the things that fuel you. Now, you have to be competent at what you do. And Josh is, if not the best AD in the country, he, in my opinion, he is. But if not, he definitely has to be right up there at the top. He's very dialed in from every aspect, not just hiring coaches. We all see him in the social media or all the programs where he's with the kids, he's with the players. Josh attends basically every game, whether it's on campus. He's at and not just for football or basketball. I mean, he's at the soccer games. He's all over campus, and supporting the teammates and supporting the teams and the programs. And that's what you have to do. Now, not to mention, he's brilliant. He has a drive and a work ethic to make Illinois special. And, I'm not here if it's not for Josh. Josh approached me and hired me to come back to campus. And I mean, it's just his foresight. It's his work ethic. It's his passion for the orange and blue. All of those things, melded together is what makes Josh Whitman special and what has us where we are today. Without him, Brad has said this too, and I quote Brad often because I love to hear it. Coaches and players win games, administrations win championships. And I think we're right on the cusp. And all of that is because of Josh Whitman.
Okay. So you just talked about like the history. I mean, just what Whitman can do for the team and what he has done. But looking forward into the future of Illinois basketball, what do you think there is to come within the next season, within the next 5 seasons? What do you think Brad and Whitman and these players can do? And what should the fans expect throughout the next couple of seasons?
Well, as long as Brad is there, as long as Josh Whitman is there, I think we're right on the cusp of winning a national championship. I mean, and I've broken this down, the UConn game. We're 3 possessions, and this has nothing to do with the score, but 3 possessions is why we didn't win that game. And, I look at it from a coach's perspective, player perspective, as well as an analyst perspective. If we nail 1 or 2 of those, it's a different outcome. That team, and people, I've talked to many people, well, we didn't play well. I'm like, yeah, we didn't score like we normally do, but we were playing against the best defensive team in the country. And and let's be quite honest, we're playing 5 against 8 because there was a whole lot of fouling and things that were going on that the referees didn't call. But we held them to 35%. We weren't the best defensive team in the country, but we were solid when we needed to be. And those guys went out there and played their butts off. And then it was 3 possessions, 2 offensive rebounds that led to 2 3-point baskets, and then 1 foul that was not called when Keaton Wagler got mugged when he should have been shooting free throws. So, you asked me what we should look forward to. We should be prepared and ready to hoist a trophy above our heads as long as we can continue on the track that we are.
Deon, I think this is the last question we got for you. I know we don't want to keep you too long, and this could probably be its own podcast. But again, you're in the fundraising side of things, and you've seen college sports just completely just change overnight. What it feels like. What are your current thoughts on like this? It's not sustainable, right? Or NIL and transfer portal and, suing everybody. Like, what are your thoughts on the current state of college athletics, and what do you think can happen so we sort of get some normal state of normalcy back?
Well, let me just say there are some likes and dislikes, but that's in everything in life. I do believe that, these young people should benefit from their name, image, and likeness, and having being on television and playing with yourself in video games as I did way back in the early 90s. So that there are some goods and bads on both sides of the fence. Does there need to be some guidelines? There needs to be some boundaries, yes. And, when you have, and this is my personal opinion, I don't want people to think this is the University of Illinois' opinion. This is Deon Thomas's opinion. The national government, because when you have each state able to pick up their own rules and things like that, you have to have someone set guidelines. That's where the national government is going to have to step in and be like, okay, you know what, this is great, but let's do things this way and put things in perspective. Will that happen? I don't know. I know there's been legislation or is legislation that's out there now where they're trying to do some things to curtail it, because you're right. to go this route where everyone just keeps changing the rules or suing to get this or that, it's not going to be sustainable. And college sports, as it was for me, is a gateway for, people to improve their lives, to earn degrees, to, lead yourself into whatever career it is that you want to do. And with that in mind, we got to make sure we maintain it and we sustain it. Yes, we help it grow, we help it evolve, but we do it responsibly.
Well, Deon, thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast. And last question. So what do you got coming up? It's almost football season. I'm sure you got big things coming up. What should Illinois fans be maybe looking forward to with Deon Thomas?
Well, Deon Thomas is going to keep doing what Deon Thomas is doing. I'll be at every home football game because that's a part of my development work. I'll be out trying to grow our donor base because that's what we're going to need in order to be able to compete and continue competing at a high level. So I'll be out there, as I say, shaking hands and kissing babies as long as I can, as long as these knees and legs hold up. But I want everyone to get excited about football season. I think our football team is going to be pretty doggone good. I love our schedule. I think this gives us an opportunity to possibly make it into the football playoffs. Now, I know how difficult that is, but could you imagine how Illini Nation would go nuts if we're in the college football playoffs? So that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm ready for. And for those that don't know, that was my gateway into the University of Illinois. I became a football fan before I was an Illinois basketball fan. So early mid-'80s when Coach White was there and he was bringing all the guys from Cali, because you guys are way too young. Before that, college football was kind of boring, and they were just running the ball all the time. And then to have, him come in and David White and some of the other, and they slinging the ball down the field, I was like, oh, okay. Other than my Bears, no one was watching Northwestern. Who wants to watch them? So once Illinois football hit TV, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then I just took off from there with my passions for Illinois. But so that's what's coming up next. Having guys having the Illini Nation get ready for football season and telling people, come on out, man. Come on out and support your program. We need every single person that we can get involved.
Yeah, hard to believe 3 weeks from today, Illinois hosts UAB. And who would have thought we would be thanking Illinois football for landing Deon Thomas at Illinois. But Deon, thanks again. And for Illini, Isaac, Ethan, this has been the Champaign Room Podcast. And most importantly, ILL.
I.